business is kind of weirdly foundational to enable the consumer piece to happen. And so I think if I was to think about, let's say broadly, two types of CEO. There's a CEO who is in the weeds, understands the business. It's probably not that large, but that doesn't mean it's not turning over $10 or $20 million. It's just that they probably know who the customers are, and they have been around for a long time, and they've probably built up a pretty good team, and they trust that team to sort of give them the information that they need. And then there's a CEO that maybe is running a larger company, and they're not that into the business, as in they may be career CEOs, they could move between, so they're basically like any type of ubiquitous skill set. They can apply and adapt and quickly create strategy and really make those strategic choices that they believe will move the business towards their aspirations. I think the advice for each one of those is slightly different, and where things become very profound and also quite urgent is when there is a very large amount of knowledge work and white collar work, and a huge amount of, let's say, or at least one layer, sometimes multiple layers, of what I would call middle management, and a huge amount of, let's say, software applications that are running that business. And so the business is really like its processes are like the sum of its stack, you know. So they're using Shopify, or they're using Xero, or if they're bigger, they might be using Salesforce or Workday. All of those processes have been put in place and effectively have been built around human organizations, because that's what every CEO today has been running, a human operating system. And all of the information that is driving that operating system foundationally is in the heads of the people, if it's a particular type of organization, which means there is no knowledge base that holds that information. There's no dashboards for everything with traffic lights, and all of that wisdom is in the heads of the businesses. And that's why statements like "you're only as good as your people," for some CEOs, that's absolutely true. Now, let's not talk about what matters to them for a second. Let's talk about what they have to compete with. So let's assume that a beautifully architected, well-designed business has at least 100 roles, so that you have enough specialization in each function. You would have enough repetitive processes so that you could build high precision towards your targets, and you could quickly detect problems, react to those problems, and be agile. And now you've got to compete with that business, but that business isn't full of humans. That business has, let's call it, people who are working alongside AI. And it's not, I wouldn't think of it as AI, I would think of it as a team that I've now got to compete with, that's much larger than mine, that can scale faster than mine, that is going to put me in situations in which I will definitely not be able to compete, and is going to provide the most painful thing of all, which is service levels and customer level and customer satisfaction levels that will be unprecedented, where every single customer interaction can also train its own separate interaction experience AIs, and that's pretty much available over the coming 6 months. And that's something that we're starting to roll out first. And every single one of the interactions can be natural language, which means there's very little learning and very high adoption.